I'm Gregor Thompson, I'm a philosopher and a writer, and I know what the meaning of life is. Welcome to The Struggle. This episode is brought to you by The Struggle newsletter. This is a weekly email newsletter that I send out for free every Sunday, a short article concerning the art of embracing productive struggle. And I also send out tips, strategies, and recommendations such as movies, music, podcasts, books, and recipes to help along the way. To sign up completely for free, go to gregorthompson.com, the link will be in the show notes, confirm your subscription, and check your spam folder for your welcome newsletter, and then add me to your contacts so that you can continue to receive it in your inbox every week for free. And that's it. You're on your way to being more productive, healthy, and motivated. Now, let's get on with the struggle. This is episode 24 of The Struggle with me, Gregor Thompson. And this week, I'm going to discuss limitation. It is vital that we accept our limitations and take action to become better instead of decrying our own bad luck and misfortune. The world can be a cruel place. We can be very unlucky. But to accept this fate and to work is to accept the way of the world. In the movie Bruce Almighty, a man feels that God punishes him, that he is incredibly unlucky and cries out for answers from God. He then meets God, and God gives Bruce his job. Bruce must do God's work. And at first, Bruce answers his own prayers and then everyone else's prayers. And chaos emerges. Everyone wins the lottery or loses weight without trying. And then riots erupt because we wouldn't value money if everyone was rich. If everyone won the lottery, the prize would be minuscule because for every person that wins, the share of the money decreases. It's this symbolism that portrays what the world would be like if everyone got what they wanted without working for it or deserving it. We shouldn't want everything that we desire because our limitations literally give us something to do. Without them, we'd be bored and complacent. If we were all lucky, no one would be lucky. If given the power of God, would we choose to be selfish and provide ourselves with all that we desire? Maybe, but what would follow is depression. Because we need limitations and obstacles to overcome. Otherwise, what are we doing here? Why do we bother? It's why we hear endless stories of lottery winners who tumble into a pit of depression. They were given everything they could ever want and had nothing to overcome. So they tried filling this void with buying, but of course no matter how much they spent, they still felt empty until their bank account was as well. They did not earn this money over time, and so were not prepared to have a massive lump sum handed to them in an instant. If you earn £1 million over 10 years, you have worked for it, and your money has steadily grown, and you have found meaning in the work rather than trying to find it in the money. We like to decry religion and the idea of God by citing endless amounts of suffering in the world. The Holocaust, 9/11, genocide, war, disease. There are definitely fair questions to pose. Why would an all-good God create such misery and suffering, for example? Perhaps it's because the level of suffering and misery that would erupt if we all got what we wanted would be even more catastrophic. Perhaps it's that if we all won the lottery, if we were all rich beyond our wildest dreams, if there was no obstacles to overcome, no failures, no vulnerabilities, no limitations, we'd all perish amongst the chaos of the result. The world must have chaos, horror, suffering, and misery, whether God put it there or not, because the world needs limitations. The answer to life's suffering and the place to find meaning in life is where we least want to look, and the acceptance of the world's horrific suffering and my own horrific suffering is certainly the last place I want to look. Now, of course, I'm not arguing for war, disease, suffering, or genocide, and I'm certainly not arguing that they are good, just that there are good aspects of such horror. My brother died at the age of 21. That was not good, but I have found myself being grateful for my own life. I have found myself cherishing aspects of life that I'm not sure I would have had I not experienced and seen firsthand the fragile and finite nature of life. It's the same story after natural disasters, war, and terrorist attacks. Of course, these are horrific events, but there are endless stories in which people have come together to selflessly help one another. People from all walks of life put aside their judgments and simply helped one another. A civilian in Manchester during World War II said, even with the air raids, blackouts and rationing, there was a friendly atmosphere and a wonderful community spirit. In a 2015 article in The Atlantic, Jacob Remes said, the immediate response to disaster is not individualist or state-driven, but rather created by local people helping each other. That cooperation and solidarity, visible after disasters, can also make ordinary lives richer and more resilient. Seeing the silver linings of our own limitations is the route towards meaning. So the argument that many devout atheists make, if God existed, why would they inflict so much suffering, is simply and understandably questioning why the world has suffering within it. So if God exists or not, the world is rife with suffering. The good wouldn't be nearly as good without the bad. Life wouldn't be incredible without death. Love wouldn't endure without hate. Chaos wouldn't exist without order. So accepting the way of the world is one step closer to finding meaning, because you will encounter suffering. And if you do as Bruce did in the movie and cry out to God, blaming them for your own bad luck or blaming other people or externalities for all of the suffering you will endure, the world turns dark pretty fast. Accept the suffering that comes your way, and you'll be grateful when it doesn't. If you voluntarily bear the suffering that comes your way, you will find meaning in it and hopefully come out the other side stronger with some silver linings to enjoy. The answer lies in the struggle. So keep on struggling. Just a few more things before you take off. Firstly, thank you for watching. It genuinely means a lot to see people viewing and liking the content. Second, if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe. It's the best way you can support the podcast. As you can probably tell, I don't have a team behind me helping with recording or editing the podcast. I don't have much fancy equipment and I don't have much financial resources to keep the podcast going. So any support, any subscriber is helping the podcast grow and helping me more than you know. You can stay up to date with everything I'm doing on social media. All of the links will be in the show notes. And you can also listen to the Struggle podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And lastly, keep on struggling.